On episode 32 of the Whitetail Edge podcast, you'll hear an update from Ben Rising, working hard to acquire land, building healthy partnerships, upcoming events, and more.
Hi, and welcome to the Whitetail Edge podcast. I'm Ben Rising, and sitting with me today is Javen Mollett.
This is technically episode 32 of the Whitetail Edge podcast. If you've followed along on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever the audio files are, but today we're doing the video as well. So if you're following or just started watching this YouTube video, then you can also go back and catch up with the audio files on Spotify.
Yeah, and we've been this is the first podcast we've done in about a year.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
Yeah, so for those of you that have been texting and asking and messaging, like when we're going to do a podcast, well, here we go. We've just kind of had some changes over the last year here, so it's kind of put a tizzy on the whole podcast thing, but obviously it was something that a lot of people wanted to see, so we decided that we were going to do it in a better way. We're going to start filming them, uploading them to YouTube. Javen actually works now full-time for Whitetail Edge. He's, I guess you'd say, the first official employee ever of Whitetail Edge. So congratulations, Javen.
Thank you. I'm pumped. I'm excited for where this is going. And
oh my.
This is the first video recorded podcast that I'm ever doing, so bear with me. I'm sure we're going to figure things out, and hopefully we'll have a studio at some point to where we can leave everything set up and we don't have to be in your dining room.
Well, we're working on that as far as, we've got some office space that's in the works right now that I think will be taking up shop in the Ohio Taxidermy Supply building here in Killbuck. I think that's where we're going to be. Me and Rudy got to work through that, but think that's kind of the plans at the moment. But if not, we can always do it right here on this table. It's fine. We're going to just take it slow because, there's only so much income that comes into a hunting show as far as like doing it the way we do it. So I'm still doing the timber business. My job is buying timber for Tusco Forestry, Tusco Hardwoods out of Sugar Creek. Procuring the timber and logs, that's my job. So, a lot of people think that, I just do this for a living. Most of the people that have followed me long enough know that that's not the case. I do some land consultations still, buy a little land here and there once in a while. We haven't really got into that whole thing of buying and selling land. That's just not something that I've done yet. Kind of everything that me and my partner Dan have kind of bought, we've just kind of hung on to, a little bit, and just we enjoy the land and kind of trying to spice some things up on it, see what we can do with some of these parcels of ground. And I'm sure someday we'll sell a few pieces here and there, but right now we're just really enjoying having the dirt. As I've said in previous podcasts, I've never owned land, to the last 10 years. And it's just a neat feeling. And it's just not something that I was used to having as a youngster growing up. And, I think there's been such a misconception of like this younger generation that watches, people like me, they seem to forget that people like me, Mark Durgry, Waddell, everybody started as a youngster, didn't always have great places to hunt. Still don't just have great places to hunt. Some have better places than others, but,
well, I think it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate dream as a hunter, as a whitetailer. Anybody that loves the sport typically would have a desire to own their own piece of ground. I do now for sure, and you're 50 now, and only in the last 10 years that you've gotten to kind of acquire some land.
Yeah.
So at 40 years old,
yeah, that's really the case. We bought some a little before 40, but it wasn't really like super good huntable ground. It was, small acreage that had like house on it or things like that, But as far as having any kind of like real acreage to it, it's really been the last 10 years, and the first piece was like a 75 or a 70 acre piece, I think, that was like really huntable.
Mm-hmm. Well, and those are things that for young people to take note of, as far as like, it's hard to So often on social media, people are like, well, you just have it super nice and
must be nice.
Yeah, right. And that's really not, I mean, if that's what you want, look at it that way. If that's what you want in 10 or 15 years, man, you got to take steps and
well, we sacrificed a lot. Like me and my wife, we raised 5 kids. We sacrificed in a lot of ways of not buying certain things or, not stepping out on a limb to buy land until later on, and even now, like I wouldn't be able to own some of the dirt I own now or, part of it. Dan, it's sometimes it takes partners.
Yep.
I was able to do a certain amount by myself, but I couldn't do what, I've done now without that. But
Well, and that speaks into relationship and
it's got to be the right, you have to have the right things, with that. Like partners are a very touchy subject. You have to have the right people because it can go all bad. Most partnerships don't work. That's just really the truth. I mean, most partnerships do not work out very well.
What is there anything specific that you can speak into as far as what to look for in a partnership or what works?
Just very like-minded, and what I have found is that, like, what I think what works so well with me and Dan is that we're both worried more about each other, the other one's needs, than ourselves.
Mhm.
Like I'm more worried about what he wants. He's more worried about what I want. I think that's a major part of it. Like we've never had a disagreement in the last 76 years. Never had a disagreement.
Yeah, I mean, it could almost be compared to, it's maybe not as big as, a marriage, but it's a big deal. Like it's work.
It seriously is almost, in a sense, bigger than a marriage to a
There's a
degree.
lot more, financial stuff. There's a lot on the line.
There's a lot more red tape to it.
Sure.
I mean, obviously your wife is the ultimate, partnership, besides Jesus Christ. But, I'm just saying, like, it's a really big deal.
Mhm.
And it can be a really big deal if things aren't set up right and somebody dies and things go the wrong way. And
So just because somebody has a lot of money and would want to partner with an individual, like doesn't mean that, this is really going to work or it's really going to be a good fit.
Yep. And you'll find too that a lot of times people with a lot of money aren't exactly the people you want to partner with either. So I think that's the beauty of Dan. Like Dan didn't come from a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come from a lot of money. We both worked really hard for what money we did have and do have, and still work very hard every day. Dan is constantly traveling, moving around, from one place to the other. And, it's just, he's constantly on Zoom calls and, where I'm a little less, I mean, I work hard, but I'm outside.
Sure.
That poor dude's in the office or, what I mean? He's dealing with BS constantly. That's very stressful. And, all he wants to do is get on a tractor and go mow down a bunch of great bedding area.
He wants to get out and do something. How long have you known Dan before you had any kind of partnership?
5 years.
Okay.
Probably 5 or 6 years. It was in the makings of, and it was very slow to develop, but it was all in God's timing. That's how I truly feel about it. And when it was meant to be, it was meant to be. And then it just fell into place and it just started rolling from there, But I guess what I was getting at, though, is there's so many of the younger people that listen or watch Whitetail Edge or a lot of these hunting shows or different things. And, they just think because, a guy's hunting his own property or private ground that, like I wasn't born out of the womb into 300 acres of ground and have always had, like, it's just not how it works. I mean, killed numerous bucks on public land back in the day when we didn't talk about it. Like, you didn't tell people you were hunting public land. Same with turkey. Some of my best turkey spots were public ground.
Yeah, because you didn't want other people knowing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Like, I'm just saying, like, I feel for the people right now that are young guys, because I always longed then to own my own
Sure,
dirt.
absolutely.
Because how many times I go get in a stand and here comes some guy walking by, this or that. That's why I give, like, the guys like the hunting public such creds, because, I mean, I don't watch a lot of their stuff, but surely they have to have mornings or days where they're almost wasted because they're dealing with other people.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's for them to dedicate basically their whole show around it. is really, I've spoken highly of them for a long time just because of that. And they're good guys. Like, they created a niche that was just epic. Not everybody just always has the same opportunities. And, guess, like I was saying with the hunting public, the guys develop their show around a niche that a lot of people can relate to. And it's done very well for them and they stick with it, But, for me, it's just, we still do hunts in public here and there. I don't talk about it a lot when I do, because, whatever. But I've just really come to that point where I just really enjoy, I'm 50 years old. I'm not 25 again. I'm just not. I mean, I'm not your age. I'm not like, I did all those crazy, sleeping in my car in parking lots because I couldn't afford hotels. And I've been there. Like I've done that, and I respect the younger generation right now that's coming up, watching us, and they have to do that, but I would just want to encourage you, if you're one of those guys sitting out there and thinking, well, yeah, it's easy for you to say because you're hunting private land and it's unpressured deer. That's BS. Like everybody hunts anymore. There's not a property line on a property that I own or lease or have permission to hunt on that doesn't have the property lines lined with stands.
Pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't matter anymore. I mean, there's so much hunting pressure out there nowadays, especially during archery season, when archery season used to be the quiet time.
Yeah.
For now, it's like the gun season.
Yep.
And gun season's quiet. It's really, I was just talking about that today with a guy, how very few shots we hear anymore in gun season. All the deer killed around here in archery. Well, in Ohio this year, there was more deer killed with archery equipment than there was.
Well, and that speaks partly to there's so many different options in archery season that you can, the weekend guys that aren't shooting compound that are shooting crossbows. Like there's so many opportunities, and I think that kind of plays into that.
Well, it's just it's just basically the sport now is so broad spectrum. And it's allowed guys that, couldn't hunt through the week or don't have time to hunt through the week, and they can't practice shooting a compound every day. The crossbow affords them a very effective opportunity to be able to get out and hunt on a, Saturday or Sunday, and I mean, hey, I can't blame them. I mean, it's, you love to hunt, you hunt. So,
well, and I think speaking back to a little bit, how you mentioned the opportunities for different people, like that's what's beautiful about hunting is it's so opportunistic. Like, man, if you have an opportunity to hunt, if you love to hunt, you're going to make it happen. Like whether it's public or private, like
it's all in where your priorities lie.
Right.
And my priorities in the day have always been to hunt big deer. And, wherever I had to go to find them. I mean, like, even living here in the hills where I live in Ohio, there was times I was driving an hour and a half east to hunt the deer I was after, or west, and I was end up in flatland or wherever. I mean, they're not always right in your back door, but I don't do that as much as I used to. I just don't hate them like I used to hate them. You know what I mean? Like I used to cruise the roads all the time. I used to do this, and now looking back, I realize how much, like, my wife sacrificed, family and things like that I just wasn't being aware of as a 25 to 35-year-old man. I was fighting for my family and doing all these things and creating this career path, as a side thing, but didn't realize probably some of the effects that it was having, even though she's been a real trooper and always supported it. Looking back now, I'm just kind of like, wow, she gave up a lot for me to go chase antlers. What
would you say to yourself at 25? What would you say now?
I would, obviously, when you're 25, you think a lot you just think differently, but you don't know where you're going to end up. You don't know, like, at 25 years old, all I could think about was, I did have a house then, but I wanted to own land, I wanted this, I wanted that. I coveted a lot of what I saw other people have, and if I would have been a little more diligent maybe about putting God first in my life, who knows if I'd even be on this path? I don't even know.
Yeah, like
I don't know that I would be. It's hard to say. So I always had a relationship, but I didn't follow it the way I should have. And it's hard even now. Like, it's still hard to balance that relationship with, God, between hunting and work and family and finances and wanting things while we're here and trying to remember that, man, this is all just so temporary. It's so temporary here compared to what's to come.
Yep, centered around God.
And so that's a tough route to go, or to think about, like, what would you change? So now all I can do now is just look forward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look back. I look forward and just try to do the best I can now, try to improve other people's lives. Try to surround myself with the people that in my life are there as positive people that aren't using me for other things. People that are men of their word. That's a hard thing to find these days, when people shake your hand and they mean it. Or
Well, and those are some of the things, if you really get nitty gritty into life and the future. Like, I'm trying to think of somebody at 20 my age, now 32, is staying Christ centered and keeping God in the center of your life. So many things fall into place, and part of that is relationships and just being somebody of your word. And then people will trust you, and people will know that if you say something like that's what it is, you're not gonna try to, stab somebody in the back, and you're not going to take somebody, for their money, and that leads into opportunities that are bigger and bigger. That's just how life goes.
it's kind of like, well, you can't outgive God, for one. And if you try to take care of other people in need, it always comes back.
Yeah.
And if you give from the heart, and you give for the right reasons, you're always rewarded for it. And it may not always be rewarded back financially, but you're rewarded in some way or another, how you feel or different things. And it's always better to give than to receive. It's hard to explain that to people, and it's like, you watch a lot of the stuff that you'll see on social media where these people set up cameras and they do good deeds. Like the Bible says, don't let the right hand see what the left hand is doing. Do your good deeds in secret. Your Father will reward you. And so I don't like to see all that. Like, it's okay to show some good things, but when you're seeking self-glorification for your good deeds, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah. Yep.
And
That's
and I honestly, I think deer hunting is getting to that point. It's very hard, and it can make you, there's so much anymore that people are just hunting for self-glorification.
Yeah.
They just want that they want that picture of them with the big deer on Instagram.
Social media.
Yeah. They want everybody to see they can kill a big buck or this or that. And it's affecting the sport. It's affecting kids. It's affecting men. It's affecting everybody, and just trying to get back to the fun side of hunting is something that I'm trying to focus on a little more, because I'm not going to lie. There was times that I just enjoy hunting really big deer. Like, I just enjoy it. I love it. Like, big deer infatuate me, and I've killed a lot of deer in my life. So the challenge for me was hunting more mature deer.
Sure.
Big rack deer. Yes. Anybody that says they don't like the pat on the back or the accolades you get when you become known as killing a big deer, or a consistent big buck killer, you're lying if you say that doesn't make you feel good.
That's human.
But you have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes I feel like God's tried to humble me a little bit, the last 2 years have been, I've killed some big deer, but it's been more of a struggle than typically, and I have some access to better ground than I've had in a long time. And sometimes just don't have the deer, or things don't work out. And so, I've just really tried to focus on different things sitting in the stand, more or less like, reminiscing on, why do I like to do this? It's not about the show. It's not about, me being known as a buck killer. It's, how can I use this to benefit other people? And that's a lot of the things I think people forget too, is like, the amount of time we put into this to produce content, produce podcasts, to, people to see the hunts and get the free advice. It's free to them.
Mm-hmm.
We don't charge anybody nothing. Like, it's not like I have a course where you got to join it and pay $150 a month to get the inside secrets. I give it all up. I've probably helped a lot of my neighbors kill deer that, I would have maybe eventually killed or saw later in life or whatever. But, I pray all the time that God will just use this platform to benefit others in whatever way he seems fit.
Mm-hmm. I think he has already. I mean, there's so many people that have just shared their appreciation and that I think you've led them into a relationship with Christ just from who you are and saying that stuff publicly.
Yeah. And I've made big mistakes, trust me, like I've had friends in my life that I didn't realize how good of friends they were, because I was too focused on other things in my life, like at the time. And I let good friendships slip through the cracks that I should have held on to. And then there's some people that are in your life that, it doesn't work out. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, and I mean, we're human. Like, we make mistakes. I can tell you this: the older I get, the less I want to deal with drama. The less I just don't. I don't know. I'm kind of like the old buck. I just want to go sit on the hillside by myself. Yeah, because it just seems like the more people that are around you, the more issues you're going to have. And I've been very guarded. And, I don't always want to be that way. I'm doing more seminars this year. I've been asked a lot to do seminars, and I've been reluctant to do a lot in the past. And this year I've taken almost every one that's come my way, just because I feel like that's what God wants me to do. Get out there and start, doing more of this. And so, we've done 2 already. Getting ready to do a 3rd one here at the end of March in Marietta, Ohio. I'll be doing one in Lancaster, PA, I think the 11th of April. And then I'll be at the Crawford County Fair in Pennsylvania. I think that's the 22nd and 23rd of August. I'll be there for the weekend at their Sportsman building. And we've got some stuff cooking with the Alive Festival at Atwood Lake. It's a huge Christian music festival. And we're working on doing something there with Ken Ferguson, who's the guy that puts that on. That's like 20,000 people a day go there.
That could be big. I'm really excited about that.
I just we haven't figured out how to do that. Like, we're trying to, different things that we could do. I could either do like, just a speaking engagement, or we could set up a tent there, and just, talk outdoors and faith with people, that they could come into the tent and see things. So, if you're listening to this and you're somebody, that has a company that wants to get involved in something like that and is interested in trying to help share the gospel, or wants to sponsor, say, one of my thoughts was to get a mossy oak colored tent, like a walk under tent for people. And in that tent, some of us be there to be able to talk to people, maybe have a TV playing with some, hunting videos. Like, it's a tough situation, because in a festival or a crowd like that, you're going to get all walks of life. Right. You're going to get city people. There's a lot of country people. Last year when we was there's obviously a lot of people that probably did hunt, stuff like that. But you get a lot of youth groups, a lot of city people, a lot of different things that have never been exposed to something like that. So it's a fine line of like,
sure.
Do you show videos where deer getting shot in the side with an arrow to some lady that, y'all, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're there to, worship and sing and, have a good time that way, but it's a different dynamic. So me and Ken have been trying to talk through that. How do we, bridge this gap a little bit?
That's an interesting one.
But Ken's all for it, like, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he sees a real opportunity here to add a different event to the Alive Festival, something different, for people to see. So, yeah, I mean, like, we're just trying to figure out that whole dynamic Alive and how we're going to try to do that this year. It's just such a huge event. Like I had no idea just how big it was. Last year was the first year I actually attended it, and we camped there. And the Atwood Lake campground is just amazing, beautiful. Like they have put millions of dollars into that campground through the Muskingum Watershed Conservancy District. So it's just really a neat place. I mean, there was huge singers there last year. Jeremy King and Wilson, King and Country, people like that. I don't know who all is going to be there this year yet, but I know there's some good ones.
Do you know the date for that?
I know it's going to be that weekend of the 19th of July.
Okay.
Because it's over my birthday. So it's usually I don't know if it's a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Yeah, I think it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday typically is how that works. Or a Sunday, I can't remember. But, you can just look up a live festival in Ohio. I mean, there was people from all 50 states. Like, it was
Yeah,
great.
that's amazing.
And to see the young people there just worshiping up front and singing, and like they have, different stages throughout the campground. One they call the wood stage. One is, the main arena at night. They have different ones. They have different preaching sessions, seminars going on. It's just really something to experience.
Well, and that's probably the fun part where I've never been there, but so many people together and everybody has some common ground in faith.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everybody's got that. They're there for one reason.
Absolutely.
And I saw people there last year that I know maybe weren't real, weren't Christians yet, like, or, they're new and they're like developing that, or just trying, and that's what it's
I'm sure
all about.
that's why they have an event.
So it's one of those things of like, you're reaching those people, and it's just incredible to see. But, they have food vendors there, and it's just a neat weekend. So, and how me and Ken met at this thing was like, it was meant to happen. So we're just trying to figure that out. Because we met on the day that everybody was, everybody had already left. Me and Mel were camping there. We were packing up to go to home that day, kind of let everybody get out of there. And it was just a weird thing. And even because I just met with Ken here not too long ago, and he even said, he goes, there's no way we were supposed to run into each other the way we did. He's like, it happened for a reason. And he kind of explained the course of events that led for him to run into me walking into the shower house in the bathroom.
That's amazing. And that's
at the same exact time. He goes, this got dropped here. This got broke. I had to go here, do this. And he goes, so then I had to pee, and I went over there real quick, and we just ran into each other, and we started talking. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm the guy that puts it on. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm Ben, from Whitetail. Well,
that's what I like to call a divine appointment.
Yeah. And so, he's been awesome. And, so if you're listening to this and you're an outdoor company, or you have some interest in wanting to try to figure out how to support this, obviously we're looking, for some ideas, probably some funding to help put together an area of this campground to kind of showcase outdoors and the faith. Like it can be, whether it's a UTV dealer, e-bikes, whether it's, trail life, like a Christian Boy Scouts thing. Like, I don't know, like we've talked a lot of things me and Ken did that could possibly come in the future, like even an archery shoot, like for kids, teaching kids archery, all kinds of stuff. But there's obviously some dynamics there, probably with insurances and different things that we have to go through. So I don't think a lot of that's going to happen immediately, but it's things that we'll definitely be trying to figure out.
Yeah, this could be the start of something really beautiful.
Yeah. And so like, if there's people out there that, you can email us or, like DM us, and we'll, definitely, hear that, like try to get your thoughts on it. Again, so it's like, if you're one of my sponsors right now and you're listening to this and you want to be involved, like that'd be awesome, because that's what we're looking for. Like, I haven't talked to my sponsors much about it yet. I meant to talk to some of them at NWTF, and it just was so busy there. I just couldn't talk to anybody. And I was only there a day because I went to see my dad in Georgia. So didn't get to cover that a lot with the people, but that's something that's coming that anybody can buy a ticket to and show up. So like, everybody always wants to know, where am I going to be or what places? Well, if you want to meet me this year, guarantee you can meet me at the Alive Festival in Atwood Lake Campground. You buy a ticket one of those days, and, my plan is to have a tent or something set up there, and we will be there. You know,
I'm sure we'll release more details
Yeah,
and
we-
stuff as we figure things out. But,
and there's those others events that, and we probably should put those, I guess, on our website too. Like, get that updated to where we're going to be, different places at times. But yeah, there's just a lot of new stuff going on. Like I said, Javen's working for us full time now, just trying to give us that whitetail edge, constant, in your face kind of thing. Like, I kind of slacked on it there for a while. Just, going through changes with editors and different things. And, Ollie's going to be doing it this year. We'll see how that goes, what kind of job he's going to do, if it's even something he wants to continue to do. I don't know. Like, this has always been the hardest road as far as like me producing Whitetail Edge, is having, a consistent, I guess, model of how I'm doing things. I think I'm doing things like when Tag and Bragg did it, those boys did great. And they always did. And I didn't stop doing it with them because they didn't do a good job. Like, they did probably the best of anybody. But Dylan was, wanting to try to edit, and it made sense, and he was going to work for us full time. And, so I let Dylan edit the show for 2 years. And, I just think it was a little more than Dylan expected, and, things just didn't go quite as well. And, Dylan had different avenues then that he wanted to go in life. He's not even here anymore. He doesn't even film for Whitetail Edge. So, it just always changes. And so there you're back to square one. And so I just feel like now I just kind of feel like I'm getting some sense of direction right now of how I want to go and where I want to go with this. And, biting the bullet by hiring you, I think is like, it's one of the biggest things I've ever bit off. Like, it just is. Like, I mean, I've had employees before and things like that, but to, make sure that you're taken care of and supported just through this venue right here is a lot of sacrifice on my end, too. And so, because it's not like this is a show that's bringing in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, everybody thinks because you have a hunting show, like, you're rich.
yeah.
Like, that's just not how it works. Maybe some, I know there's some that get tons of, a lot more than what we get, and that's fine. And then good for them. But, I'm just going to trust the process right now. It's, I know the one thing I do know, that when me and you do things together, we get it figured out.
It works. Yeah. Yeah.
We figure it out.
And that's what I'm excited about. And I really, I'm thankful for this opportunity. I know you and I have always had a good connection and have worked well together. And I've filmed, a lot with you. I was trying to think, what year was it when we connected first? Was it I think it was season 2.
Could be.
Whitetail.
I mean, it's been a long. So I started the first year Whitetail Edge aired was 15, I think, 14 or 15. I think it was 14 or 15. I think was the first year that it come out. I think this year's 10 years.
Yeah.
Fall of 25 will be the 10th year, I think.
It's been 16 or 17, I think, when we first connected.
Yep. But you filmed me kill a lot of stuff, and like, we seem to really, you were just one of the guys that just, I've always said, like, I just feel comfortable with. I don't, we roll the same, we get out of bed at the same time, we click.
Yep.
And that's hard to find in a camera guy.
Yeah, for sure.
When I'm rolling them out of bed after 15 alarm sounds off, I get a little pissed off.
Trying to get them out to the stand with
and then that just starts to ruin my day.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guys, like Lamar, my buddy Lamar, or Dan, are people that, like, are in hunting camp with me at times, or different things. They just laugh about how I roll, because, like, I'm like a recluse. Like, I get up in the morning super early, and I'm like creeping around the house like a psycho, not trying to wake people up, but I just get up, I just wake up, and I'm like creeping around, looking around the corners at everybody, and everybody's still sleeping. I'm like, man, it's looking for somebody to talk to. I've got 2 cups of coffee in because somebody's out of bed. And like, the thing about you, to tell our friends, is Jamin could sleep anywhere. You could sleep on a rock.
I could. I sleep in the tree stand.
You sit down in a recliner and you're gone.
Yeah, I'm out.
And I'm just not like, I don't know, I'm particular about how I got to sleep, whereas, I don't know, it's just weird. I wish I wasn't like that.
But then I can get up pretty quick too.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, you roll when it's time to roll. You're rolling, and you're usually prepared and camera's charged, and it's just a lot. It takes a lot of stress off me when I have a camera guy.
Yeah.
Like camera guys stress me out.
Yeah.
For one, like deer aren't moving because I feel like I'm wasting somebody's time.
Yeah.
Even though I'm paying them to be there.
Yeah.
It still feels like I'm wasting somebody's time, and it adds added pressure to me that I got to perform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that.
But when it does happen, oh, it's so great to have a camera guy because everything is better.
Yeah.
All the footage is better when you actually have a camera guy. I mean, I've made some really good, successful films, self-filming, and I've had some that weren't great. Like I wish I'd have had a guy in the tree when I shot Ranger, one of the biggest deer I've shot, but just didn't. I didn't have somebody there, and I wasn't going to risk trying to get that camera rolled around the second he showed up out in that CRP. I just wasn't going to do it. And I didn't want to mess that up because I knew my chances at a 215-inch deer were probably one or twice, And
yeah, you don't want to mess that up.
Yeah. So luckily, I mean, I had the painted arrow camera arm mount on my bow, and I had phone on it, and that's how I got it. And I didn't care at the time. I'm like, that deer meant more to me than getting on film, which is usually not the case. But that was a special chase for me, and I really wanted to, I was into that hunt. Like it was an emotional connection.
Yeah, well, that was probably a split size. It wasn't like you didn't have another camera, or it wasn't like you didn't like. It was probably a split second, decision of what are you going to do?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it wasn't hard for me to figure out. Like when I saw him in the corner, and this other buck was, within 30 yards, getting ready to work this creep, I'm like, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. Like,
Well, and those are some of the things that I think we're going to change as far as, if I'm here full time, like, you will be filming.
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to be able to produce a whole lot more content.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we'll get back to doing the Booner schools, but we're going to do a lot of more stuff like that again. Like, just that educational side that everybody loves to hear from Whitetail Edge. Like, so get ready because, we're going to be cramming you with the knowledge that, people want to acquire from me. Not saying that I'm so full of knowledge because I don't know everything by any means. I'm always learning too. I'm a constant student of the woods and the timber myself. But I do think I have a lot to offer people. And that's what I was trying to get at earlier, that even though I may not be one of those guys that you see constantly hunting public land or hunting the exact way you do, or hunting an urban spot or whatever, I promise you, I got something to offer you.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that shows in all the deer that you've killed and on your wall here in the living room. But I think like you said, we'll be doing a lot more real time storyline content of just following along with what Ben Rising's up to.
Yeah. Well, my plan is to bring you and some of the guys in the team into this even a little more, to a degree of more exposure, because I don't want Whitetail Edge to just be known as Ben Rising. Because as I get older in age, I don't want the brand to just always be me.
Sure.
I want the brand to have some recognition that, oh yeah, Javen, or whatever, Tori or Matt or, anybody, Jeff Klump, that just Dwayne, I just want people to have a feeling of other people, that there's other people involved and that are sacrificing their time too to film and create content for the show and for them to watch. And I understand, and I do know this, everybody wants to see me more. My hunts always get more views, etc. Typically, because they just want to hear what I have to say. And I get that. And so we want to try to be a little more proactive on the social media side and the short clips on YouTube of producing that content for everybody to see, getting our YouTube channel piped up a little more on Masio Go, etc., just giving more content for the general public. It's going to take some time on my end, for sure, and Javen's, but, it's what I guess this is what I'm dedicating myself to do moving forward to keep the show going in the direction that I want it to go.
Yeah, I think for those of you that aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe and hit that bell notification, because I'm not sure that we're really going to have a scheduled episode date or on certain days. So if
Yeah.
you do want notified, when we drop new stuff, like just make so you get that notification.
Yeah. The plan now though is like the episodes, the actual show episodes are planned to drop in July like we used to do.
Mhm.
Last year we put them out in March. And I don't think that was the greatest thing. Like we hurried up and rushed through them and got them put out, and I don't think that was the smartest move. But we're going to go back and put them out in July when guys are starting to see velvet bucks and guys are starting to get jacked up for deer season and starting to watch deer hunting content again. And that's when we hope to start putting out the fresh episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some good deer killed this year. Dwayne killed a 193 incher. Jeff Klump killed a good one. I killed a decent buck in Illinois that, big 5-year-old. He didn't score a ton, but he was in the 50s. But a big mature deer. I killed 2 other deer, bucks, weren't giants, but, nice deer, good hunts. So, I know we've got plenty of hunts. So you have a lot of footage of chasing Ironsides, and then, so we got story content to bring out. But yeah, like I said, there's been a lot of changes this year. We kind of wanted to use this episode, jumping back in the saddle on the podcast, giving everybody an update, what direction we're headed, what our plans are. And, we're going to start doing this podcast, hopefully at least once a week to every 2 weeks, putting out a new episode, hopefully. And so, we'll be bringing some guests on at times, and, we'll be looking for ideas for guests too. If you guys want us to bring somebody on, reach out to Javen. That's fine. We kind of, Javen's the guy to reach because he'll be the one to see it sooner than I do, because I just don't check a lot of messages and I'm horrible at that. It's not that I don't care. It's just I'm a grandpa. I'm not sitting there scrolling through Facebook looking at messages all the time and things. Not that Javen does either, but now he's getting paid to do it. So
If I don't respond on Facebook or Instagram, then
and I mean, he will check the Whitetail Edge messages too, but you can also hit him on his personal at Javen, Javen Whitetail Edge. And if you want to email, you can email Javen at javen@whitetail-edge.com.
Yeah, yep, I'll see that right away for sure.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the direction we're going. We're still with a lot of the same sponsors. Somebody new that's coming into the picture this year for us is Dial Archery. I'm excited to work with Scott again and those guys. Used to work with Scott years ago when he was with HHA, and now to be working with Scott again, I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. I'm excited to get be shooting a dial.
Yeah, so we'll go from there. We had many good years with HHA. Those guys are good guys, so there's, nothing wrong there. We just wasn't producing the kind of content that HHA needed anymore, and so we're going to go in a different direction and try to, be, I guess, valuable again to somebody and go from there. So again, everything changes and happens for a reason. So that's the direction we're going. And, Scott was super jacked about it, and that made me jacked, because I like working with startup companies too, and I like dealing with the owners themselves. When I can, we've just had a lot of luck working with the people that own the companies, because you're dealing with them and it's nothing against marketing people, but you can just really develop the relationship with them, and, but, we've started a relationship. Well, for instance, so like say dealing with an owner, like I've dealt with Janice and Igby from Black Widow now ever since day one, and Danny Little from day one, and just the most wonderful people, like more like family to me, than anything. I mean, I literally, when me and Janice hang up the phone, it's like saying goodbye to your mother or whatever. I love you, whatever. It's just how we talk. And so, the Black Widow is, which I actually have a Black Widow hoodie on. So, like, Black Widow has just been with us forever, like day one. And Redneck, Danny's been great. Danny, though, every time I see Danny, we hug each other. He's just a good dude. Like, Danny gives so much back to people, and, we just resonate in that way. And even though I don't have kind of blinds a ton, like, we still try to advocate that there's a use for that blind. And I'm excited this year because they actually came out with a redneck blind, this trailer, the Freedom trailer. And that thing is legit. Like, they had it at the ATA. I'm going to get one. They're going to send me one with a blind on it, and it's mobile. It's a hydraulic lift, so it picks it up to like 10 feet, I think it is. And man, I just can't wait, because like late season, especially, is where I see it being so valuable to move around on, food sources or things like that, anywhere, no matter what state you're in. Like, just being able to maneuver that thing. That's always been the problem for me with, hard blinds that are set on stands and stilts, because they're there where they're at. And like, sometimes the deer just aren't moving in that spot, or that food source isn't what they're hitting. So this is going to allow us to be mobile. And I do believe that the deer kind of look at it like it's just a gravity wagon or something that got left in the field the night before. And, so I don't know, I'm pretty excited about to see how that's going to work. And I actually did shoot my Illinois buck this year, in a cut cornfield, or some standing, some cut on the edges. They'd made a pass around the edge, 2 passes with the combine. And I'm like, well, I'm going to hunt that edge because they're going to be traveling. And I killed that deer 2 nights later, using that edge. So out of the redneck. Yep. So it was perfect because the wind was very sketchy, and it kind of helped me get by, but we've been working with GSM now this year. So, they're a newer company, and I did get to meet some of their marketing guys, at the NWTF, and it was awesome to meet Grant. And, I've worked with Chris Duncan for a long time, and Fred Zink, I've known those guys forever, and they're part of GSM and been part of GSM for a long time. But Grant is, new guy there, and he's going to be kind of our marketing guy. So it was nice to meet him and get to know him. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. We have some different product lines through them, as far as like, muddy boots and apparel, that's something we wore this year. Everybody was asking, very interested in that clothing line. I'm going to tell you, you're going to be jacked when you see the new DVX line that's coming out this year. It is serious. The TRX line, which they already have out, which we wore this year, was very good for the money. You cannot beat it. Like, it's insane. The boots are incredibly comfortable and incredibly warm. They have different styles of boots, rubber boots. Obviously we're wearing the Mossio bottomland pattern, but this price point. So like Ollie, for instance, was talking about, he's wore Sitka for a long time. Ollie's never been part of a show. He just chose to wear Sitka. Young guy's got a few bucks in his pocket, so he bought top end gear, and we got him a set of the TRX Sherpa lined, or Sherpa clothes, the heavier winter coat and the bibs. And he told me, he said that stuff was so impressive during muzzleloader season, it blew his mind. He said there was no difference in the warmth capabilities of that. He said it was just a little bit noisier. The shell was a little bit noisier. He goes, but for the price point, you cannot beat it. I think you can get that coat for, I think that whole setup would be like $300.
Yeah, I agree with him for sure. I mean, I hunted late season too, some in January here at home, and it was cold. And I mean, even the muddy base layers, like if you charge those batteries and keep
the nucleus gear, they have the nucleus gear now, which is the heated socks, heated pants, heated, vests, heated gloves. I mean, if you're, I didn't ever use the heated gloves. In fact, I didn't even need the heated socks this year because those boots were so warm.
The insulated.
But I did wear the heated zip up, quarter zip. I liked that a lot.
That a lot.
Because it felt like a lot of bulk when I'm bow hunting. And so that quarter zip was very nice to have, and turn that thing on when I needed just a little warm up and keep comfortable in those cold mornings in November and stuff like that. Because again, I don't like a lot of bulk, and I love to wear bibs. So when they came out with the bibs, that was like, I was in them.
I wore those bibs a lot late season too, and they were warm.
Yeah, very warm. Yeah. Like it's hard to wear them walking in because you'll sweat.
Yeah. I would often just wear a thin pant, and then once I got there and once I got my stand hung, and then I would put them on and climb up.
Yeah. So check that stuff out. They got some really good prices on that stuff. But again, like I said, I think it's called DVX is what it's going to be called this year coming out. Hopefully,
Is it out now or is it not?
I don't think those are available yet. I think they'll be coming out. They should be available by fall, from what I'm being told.
Perfect.
But be prepared. Like I'm saying, if you're looking for new hunting clothes for this deer season, I would wait, because the quality of these is really something.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. Like we've been with some different clothing manufacturers in the past and stuff, but this whole deal with GSM, it took different brand categories to kind of put it together. So we had to sacrifice some brands other places and to move into this thing. But it was a good decision for us as a whole, as a company, because GSM is a good brand and they own a lot of brands, and they're going to keep buying brands. And so they're a strong company. And it's like, for me, it's just like, it was like having, I don't know, the Philadelphia Eagles come to you after winning the Super Bowl and, wanting to work with you. So it's like, it made me feel good. And so I'm trying to figure that out. And the stealth cams was the initial main thing, and I was using stealth cams years ago in outfitting. Like, that's all I had, was the regular non-cell stealth cams. I think they were G42s or whatever. I still have them. Man, they're 10, 11 years old. And I still probably have 15 of them, and they all work. Andy found one on a lease that I had. Andy from Black Widow, he found one on a tree in the woods. It'd been sitting there at least 5, 6 years. I forgot it was there, and it had a hole chewed to the case from squirrels.
Yeah.
And we brought it home, and he's like, "This has to be yours." I said, "Yeah, that is mine." And we put batteries in it, and the thing worked. So stealth cam has always been tough for me. Like, they've been tough cameras. Then we started using the cell cams, and they're just super impressive. Like, I really like them. And it just made a lot of sense for me to switch that category and start working with them. And then the clothing part of it came into it. So super excited about that. We use the Boss Buck feeders here in Ohio, the SOG knives, but Mighty has great knives that they use too, that we're using for that switchblade, basically, switching out.
Mhm.
And so that's really awesome. But yeah, there's just a lot of good things happening. We're going to try to just be more relevant this year and just make everybody keep loving Whitetail Edge. And, we just thankful for the people that watch and view. And, I guess I don't know where else to go with that, but, those were just some of the major changes, and, just trying to give everybody a feel of where we're headed this year and what we want to accomplish, and hopefully kill some good deer this coming fall.
I was going to say, what's kind of your year look like for, well, let's start with food plot stuff. What are you doing for spring plots or house?
Yeah, well, and that's another thing. So Evolved Feeds is who we started using last year with GSM. So that's our seed brand now. We had great luck with that stuff last year. Me and Dean were actually talking about that not too long ago, how impressed we were with how some of these deer were hitting these late season plots, and how they just hounding them, and we're going to have to plant more forage this year for sure. We're starting to draw deer starting to figure out that we're leaving food and
Where the food's at,
in different places. Sometimes it takes deer a little while to figure that out if you are new to a property and they've not had food like that in spots. Sometimes it takes them a year or two to, that's always going to be there. And then they start coming and checking again. And that's how you pick up satellite bucks.
Absolutely.
Late season. So, we're definitely going to be getting geared up here. We're going to start frost seeding here real quick. March is the best time for me to frost seed. I've seen the best results in March. Well, some guys are doing it right now and it works, but you will get your best results in March from frost seeding in Ohio, at least in Illinois, things like that. So we've got a lot to do. We've got some burning to do. And we hope to be showing a lot of that, which I haven't been great at showing here just in the last year at least anyways. But this year we're going to start showing a lot more of the habitat management again. We've got a lot of stands to get ripped down and, go over and put back up and different things. And, I learned a lot this year struggling through the season. I didn't kill my first deer till November 5th. And I can't tell you when the last time.
I was going to ask, how long has it been?
I can't even tell you. Maybe when I was 10.
Yep.
So I had a lot of time to sit in those stands thinking about things and what can I do different to make this spot better or to access this spot better. You know, it made me challenge myself more in ways than I've had to in a long time. And so it could be good. You know,
Sometimes those are the years that you learn the most.
Yeah,
Is
advance.
Yep.
You advance yourself. And if you can look at it in two ways. You can either cry about it and just be bummed, or you can man up and learn from it and, you know, try to make some changes and like look at it and evaluate it. Like, what was the situation here? You know? And I mean, I literally bounced an arrow off a 170-inch deer this year. So it wasn't like I didn't have an opportunity, but it's just things just weren't meant to be.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they just weren't. Like, I mean, and, you know, this deer was just angled away a little bit, and just I'd never had that happen. You know, and that arrow just skimmed right down his side and deflected.
Just a little bit too
And
away.
he was fine. I mean, like, you know, got pictures of him later and walking around, but it's like I'm hoping he's around next year.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just try to think of like, well, there's a reason, you know. But I will say after that, I packed my stuff up and I was out. I took a break for a while.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just not meant to be, man. Like, this is insane, you know. So, you know, so I would have had a gross booner this year, but you know, it is what it is.
Wasn't meant to be, like
Yeah,
you said.
I'm okay with it because I haven't had the time to sit down really right now, and like truthfully map out how I want to do some of this stuff. Sometimes it takes me to be there in person to just figure it out and do it, you know, when we get there. We need to try to be just a little bit more organized on that. And I think, you know, having you staring me in the face all the time is going to make me do that now, you know, because I've just been a juggler. I've juggled so many different things in my life between, you know, helping my wife with real estate, doing the logging and timber stuff, trying to buy timber for 3 logging crews to keep them busy, and do a good job for my employer there, trying to keep Whitetail Edge relevant, trying to deal with the sponsors and, you know, keeping the fans, you know, wanting to watch and just dealing with all that stuff. So it's a lot. Like, and that's where I say, like, getting back to that whole losing your focus, you know, are you losing your focus where it really matters? You know, am I neglecting important things in life, like whether it's grandkids or your family or different things, your relationship with God. So it's really, it can just be a downright struggle.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell a lot of people. Like, you are kind of all over the map when it comes to, you know, getting things done. You have a lot going on. And for you to kill the deer that you have and to get Whitetail Edge to this point is a true testament to a work ethic and a lot of things that most people just aren't willing to do.
Yeah. Well, it's been a big, you know, and I guess, I don't know how you'd say it. Like, some guys are just, right now I've been watching, you know, and I got friends that, you know, we'll say for like JP, you know, he's on our team, Jason Pollock. And, you know, JP's just a driven guy too. You know, JP's been walking his butt off shed hunting and all that already, you know, and then I sometimes envy that because it's like, I've not had a single desire yet to go look for an antler.
Yeah.
I just haven't, like, cause I walk timber every day and we've had a lot of snow and it's been cold, and now the snow finally melted the last 2 days. And now I'm starting to feel like, okay, I want to go look for some antlers. But, you know, when you spend your whole life in the woods, you know, and you make your job, your hobby become part of your job, it can change things.
Yeah.
And I never thought that it would, but boy, lately it has started to change things for me. And I don't want it to do that. Like, that's why I'm really trying to be very careful that I don't overdo it to the point where I just don't enjoy it, you know? And so, like, I hunted harder this year than I ever have in my life, but I had to too, because for one, I didn't want to let my sponsors down or the show down, but I was enjoying it. Like, I was spending more time hunting in the tree stands this year than I've ever had in a long time. I was getting frustrated at times, but I also was learning a lot and feeling like I was hunting again.
Sure. Like,
you know, it wasn't just happening for me. I wasn't, and it's not always just happened for me, but it has a lot, to a point where I've been so tuned in and so prepared on a deer that the first sit I kill him.
You just expect it to come. Yeah.
I mean, like, well, 2 years ago, you sat with me 2 times and killed 2 deer.
Yep.
You know, and so mature deer.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's, and it's not going to happen like that
every time.
So, but, obviously with what we're trying to do and the amount of states we need to cover, it's nice when that does happen, when all your hard work does come together for those 1 or 2 sits.
Right.
And that's really what you're trying to strive for, because every time you go in and out, you're lessening your chances of killing that deer.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt if you're on a particular buck. But turkey season's coming, so we're going to be doing some turkey hunting too. We'll be filming that, and creating some content from Osceola and that aspect of things. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where we're at the moment. I don't know if there's anything else I should cover, but I don't know.
We're coming up here on an hour, so I think that's probably close.
Yeah,
I don't have anything.
So I mean, we'll be catching back up with you here. I'm actually getting my new prime form set up. It's getting, my dialed sight should be here anytime, and we'll get that put on there. We're going to be shooting Easton arrows this year. So that's a new thing. G5 decided to stop making the Mark arrows. It was the one product that they didn't make in-house themselves. And I think they just felt like they couldn't have the quality control over it that they liked. And so they decided to come out. So, and I'm okay with that. I respect that, because everything they make is top notch. So, and they make it in the USA. So, been talking with Easton. We're going to start shooting some of their arrows, and creating some content with that and see where that relationship goes. But I love Easton's. I've killed a lot of deer with FMJs, like scissors.
Mm-hmm.
That was an FMJ.
Yep, I remember.
So we'll see. But anyways, thanks guys for, following along and watching and listening to this podcast. We're going to start doing more. So, feel free to reach out with ideas of guests or questions or different things. And we'll start getting back into this podcast like we used to, and, reading some questions to you guys online and talking about things, and just trying to make it the best we can. So I'm Ben Rising.
I'm Javen Mullet. This is the Whitetail Edge Podcast.
We'll see you guys later.